My friend's dad died on Sunday, but he picked us up from the arcade on Tuesday. My best friend's wife thinks I'm just mixing up memories, but I know what I saw the night her father died, and I think my friend's dad killed him. We were talking about it this morning, Levon and me and his wife Ione, sitting in the same shitty booth at the diner we used to haunt in high school. The vinyl is cracked in the same places. I told her what I'd been thinking, that Levon's whole family tree is rotten from the root. She actually agreed with me. Levon just stirred his coffee and stared out the window, same way he always does when he doesn't want to face something. That's when Ione brought it up, the arcade, and the crash. A story I've spent 15 years trying to forget. That summer before freshman year was just us four. Me, Levon, Ione, and her little sister Persis. We lived on two beat-to-shit dirt bikes that belonged to Levon's dad, Mr. Aris. We'd rip through town, tear up the campgrounds by the lake until the rangers chased us off, or sneak onto the construction sites out on the county line. We thought they were abandoned, and we'd find new power tools just sitting there every week. We'd sell them for a few bucks at the pawn shop. Looking back, they were definitely not abandoned. We were just dumbass kids stealing from union guys. Some nights, we'd make enough money doing odd jobs for Mr. Aris to fund the pilgrimage. The arcade, one town over. It was Mecca. Rows of glowing screens, the smell of burnt pizza and sugar, and consoles you could play for hours. That's where Levon and I discovered we were garbage at Halo. Our ritual was always the same. First, a stop at the Dollar General for supplies. We needed to smuggle in enough high-fructose corn syrup to keep us going all night. We were coming down the big hill on the edge of town when Ione, riding ahead with Persis, flashed the signal. Palm down, patting the air. Cop. Yeah, Levon and I didn't see it in time. We blew past the county sheriff's cruiser doing at least 50 in a 30. The lights flashed, a blue and red heartbeat in the rear view. We pulled over. It was Deputy Krell. He was one of the few cops who knew us by name and usually let our bullshit slide. He just sighed, told us to slow down before we wrapped ourselves around a tree. He gave us a warning, said next time he saw us without helmets, he'd write us up for everything he could think of. But he was acting weird. He kept walking around Levon's bike, the one I was on the back of. He knelt down, ran his hand under the rear fender, his fingers probing around in the dark. It took a long time. I thought maybe he was checking the plate, but that wasn't it. His hand was busy, his eyes locked on the woods across the road. I couldn't figure it out then. Now I think he was planting something, a bug, a tracker. The second his car was out of sight, Levon cranked up the shitty portable speaker he had zip-tied to his handlebars. We flew the rest of the way to the store. We loaded up. Cans of soda shoved down our pants, candy bars stuffed into Ione's jacket. As we were walking out, the door chiming behind us, I saw Crowell's cruiser pulling out of the parking lot. He'd been waiting, watching. By the time we got the bikes gassed up and back to Levon's, the sun was a smear of orange behind the trees. Mr. Aris's red F-50 was parked in the driveway. We all piled into the truck bed, the metal still warm from the day, and screamed along to whatever garbage was playing on Levon's speaker. The night at the arcade is a blur. I remember the important stuff. Levon tried to put his arm around Persis, and she shrugged him off. Ione was trying to talk to some dumb jock from our school. I spent 2 hours and probably $10 trying to beat the high score on Galaga. The hours melted. 1 minute it was 9, the next a pimply employee was telling us they were closing. We all just stared at him. Mr. Aris was supposed to get us at 11. The arcade closed at midnight. Levon used the payphone to call his dad. No answer. We all tried our parents. Ione and Persis couldn't get a hold of their dad. I finally got my stepdad, Daryl, who grumbled but said he'd come get us. The jock Ione was talking to said he was just going to walk home. I heard later that Crowell picked him up for trespassing. It must have been close to 2 in the morning when Daryl's old Chevy finally rolled into the parking lot. And right behind him, headlights cutting through the dark, was Mr. Aris's red Ford. I remember Daryl just stopping, staring at the truck. I saw Levon climb into the passenger seat. Ione got in the back. But Persis just stood there for a second, frozen. She looked over at me, her eyes wide, before she finally ducked inside. On the way home, Daryl was quiet. The cab of his truck felt small and tight. He told me the sister's dad had been in a wreck. A bad one. He said Mr. Harris had been the one to take him to the hospital, that it didn't look good. Daryl was supposed to have picked all of us up, but then Mr. Harris had called him and said he was on his way. I started making excuses for him, for Mr. Harris, trying to make the timeline make sense. The nearest hospital was in the city, 2 hours away. How could he drive there, deal with all that, and then drive another hour to the arcade to get us in such a short time? Daryl didn't answer. He just laughed, a short, ugly sound. Maybe the son of a bitch can teleport, he said. His knuckles were white mountains on the steering wheel. I woke up later that night to voices from the kitchen. Daryl and my mom. I snuck out of my room and listened from the hallway. He was dead on arrival, Jen. They said the wreck happened Sunday evening. Sunday. Daryl's voice was low, strained. I don't get it. Eris calls me tonight, says he's with him at the hospital, that it just happened. How the fuck does that work? How was he in 2 places at once? Sunday. We went to the arcade on a Tuesday. The next morning, me, Ione, and Persis walked over to Levon's. The driveway was empty. All 4 of Mr. Harris's trucks, the red 15, the 2 work trucks, the old beater, they were all gone. We didn't say anything about it. We just grabbed the dirt bikes and headed for the Dollar General like nothing had happened. Levon and I were quiet. The girls were not. They were laughing, talking about school starting. It felt wrong. On the way, I got Persis alone for a minute. I asked her about her dad, about the accident. She just looked at me, confused. She said her dad left for a work trip to Little Rock a few days ago. He took the family van. That's why her mom was stuck at home. She was so sure. Her voice didn't even shake. At the bottom of the hill, Crowell's cruiser was parked in the same spot. He wasn't looking for speeders. He was staring right at Levon's bike, the one Ione was riding on the back of. His jaw was clenched so tight I could see the muscle jumping from 50 feet away. And I swear to God, there was a spiderweb crack in his windshield, right on the driver's side. We didn't buy anything at the store. I just felt sick. This morning, at the diner, Ione told me I have it all wrong. She says she remembers her dad dying on a business trip, an accident on the highway. Levon says I'm making shit up to scare them. Persis, well, I haven't been able to ask Persis about it in a long, long time. I don't know. Maybe they're right. Maybe my memory's shot. But as I'm writing this, I keep looking out my window. My daughter's asleep in the other room. It's almost 3 a.m., and some asshole down the street has had his high beams on for the last hour. They're pointed right at my house. It's an old Ford. Red, I think. Busted up. The kind of truck you don't see much anymore. The kind Mr. Harris used to drive.